Have you ever met someone that had a problem and they could identify all of the root causes of the problem and even some of the solutions, and then just at the end decided to row back and go straight back to causing their own trouble in the first place? Because that is exactly what I feel about this Kotaku article. It's overall quite a good article. It really does identify a lot of the problems that they've had, and believe me, they've had a lot of problems. As you can see in this graph, they started in 2013 at 100% of their traffic, and over the years to now, in June 21, they have 12% of the search terms for their own name as they did before. They've lost almost 90% of their search traffic just since 2013, and there are many reasons from that, and to be honest, they're very well deserved. There's a reason Kotaku has a reputation. Going back as far as 2012, they've done things like this. Straight white male, the lowest difficulty setting. But what are you doing? This is a gaming website. This kind of stuff isn't in your purview. You shouldn't be talking about this. All you're doing is insulting massive amounts of your customers. And your viewers are your customers. And it's your job to keep them happy. And apparently, in a way of keeping them happy, then Ian Dead also did articles like this. Bowser's only 4 feet tall, judging by Luigi's man package. I mean, seriously, who would come to your site for this? Who's going to Kotaku and thinking, oh, I hope they discuss Luigi's bulge? I just don't believe those people exist. So it's no wonder that people are leaving your website. And the article starts off a bit self-indulgent. It's talking about how I hate the everyday website is on a release schedule and cycle of new games that have to cover big new budget games. And it's like, yes, of course you do. It's a gaming website. You make gaming content. That's what your customers want to make. That's your job. Make it. It doesn't matter if you like it or dislike it. Do it. It's what your customers want. The customer is always right. Do your job. And it goes on and it starts about identitarian stuff and how we've got to teach people in games, and you don't, because you're a gaming website. You're not meant to be educating them about social issues. You're a gaming website. I don't know how often that needs to be said before it gets into your head, but apparently you can reach the highest position, and now you're the editor-in-chief, and you still haven't realized what your gaming website does. It says at some point having to explain power dynamics over and over again is not a question of informing the readership. It's a tacit acknowledgement that our audience has a specific background. Ooh, we're beginning to realize what the problem is. And consequently, that reality means that as we cover more mainstream topics, the writing is not truly for that audience. We're getting closer. This haunts me. The presumed reader looks or sounds nothing like me. What? What's that got to do with anything? I'm sure a lot of people watching this don't look like me or don't sound like me. What has that got to do with anything? The thing we've got in common is we are gamers interested in a gaming topic. That is the only thing that matters. And they realize that this is killing the website, and it really is. The 90% traffic loss. It's a matter of survival. Video game websites as they exist now repeatedly fail to represent the vast swathe of people who play games. Yes. Why? Because you keep splitting them off into different groups. You keep treating them as if they are multiple different groups rather than just gamers. Report on games and the gamers will come. It's not difficult. And actually, they say most of their traffic came from SEO, and this was the problem. This was their downfall. SEO was giving them free traffic. They were getting shares from various different baity topics that they'd done in the past, which was ruining their reputation. That meant that although people were sharing it, they were sharing it for the wrong reasons. They were sharing it saying Kotaku is awful. And then they realized they could share cached pages. So now they were sharing your links, and it wasn't even going to your website. You weren't even getting a view anymore. And that meant they had to rely on the traffic that Google was shoveling them, because no one was voluntarily going there. It was plummeting off a cliff as they alienated more and more of their people. But they thought they were fine. They thought they could have SEO forever. All these free, unique viewers coming in. And then every single one of them saw the content that was being provided, and they never came back. Because they weren't building up a loyal following. They weren't building personality, people-based content. And they could have done it. And then it gets into the meat where they get really introvert. They really start focusing on themselves and how burnout is there because their work is so hard, and no one appreciates them. No one appreciates the work that they do because they have to sacrifice a weekend, and everyone's just saying, but you got to play a game that I couldn't play. And it's like, yes, and that's also part of your job. And if you don't like it, then again, maybe you need to do another job. Okay? It's like, if you don't want to do your workload for the career that you have chosen, then a different career is probably for you. And then it gets really bad, because it says writers have to grapple with non-stop anger. Anger over suggesting that video games reflect the real world in any way, shape, or form, which they shouldn't do, because they're video games. They're fantasy. They're escapism from the real world. Asking for the real world in video games is literally the opposite of everything they're there for. It's literally the opposite of every reason that anyone plays games. If I wanted the real world, I'd leave my house. Do you know how often I leave my house? It's not that often. So when people come back and go, this is a bad take, this is stupid, here's an idea. Listen to them. They might have some good points. But you don't get that because you carry on and you say things like anger that in the news we report sometimes doesn't present video games and its communities in a positive light to the wider public. What a surprise. Your customers and your readers, the people that you want to come back to your site, the people that you want to be loyal to you, don't like it when you insult them to other people. When you go to other people and go, do you know what these gamers are like? They are awful. These people are awful people. They're disgusting. They're repulsive. Have you seen what they're doing? Have you seen what they're saying online? Have you seen what they're saying in chats? It's filthy. And it's like, of course they don't like it. Of course they're going to respond to you. It's like when Overwatch director came out and said they couldn't develop the game because people in the chat were being so toxic they didn't have development time to make content anymore. It's like, seriously. The only attitude that came out to the Overwatch developers was do your job and stop trying to censor people in chats. But if people are angry, if a significant amount of people are angry with you, maybe they've got a point. Have you considered listening to them? Because you've lost 90% of your traffic and these people are angry, and maybe that means they've got something to say. Maybe the people that are leaving your website have something to say about the reasons why they left, and maybe you'd like to take that into account so that you don't lose more. You say in the next paragraph that these are just a very small number of people compared to your total viewership, and that might be true, but 5% at a time ticks down, and for every angry person that tells you, look, I left because of this reason, if you change this, I wouldn't have left, you have 10, 20, 100 people who say nothing. And then she said, I'm terrified about my tenure at Kotaku because I'm an idealist. You shouldn't do that. It's not healthy. You're not perfect. The world's not perfect. It'll never be perfect. It'll never be an ideal. The most you could ever hope for is incremental improvement. It says, realistically, can't possibly happen. Can't be changed by a single person or a team. Okay. So you know that's stupid, and you know you shouldn't be. So you could stop. It says, failure seems inevitable. Yes, it's an impossible goal. But I am the sort of cursed person who cannot shoot for anything less than changing the way the game is played. Right? I'm going to change everything. And what's the next sentence? What would that even look like anyway? Here's an idea. If you don't know what you want, if you don't know what it should look like, then stop changing things. Because it sounds like you're just changing things to change them for random nonsense. It sounds like you just want to dismantle things, to take things apart. And to be honest, you've done a pretty good job with Kotaku. You've lost 90% of people. And then they give up. They realize they've destroyed Kotaku as a gaming website. It's astonishing, right? I want Kotaku to reflect things that are real. I want to print stories that you'd be able to tell your friend at a bar, even if they don't play games. Why? You're meant to be a gaming website. Why would you want someone to tell stories and friends to non-gaming people? You're a gaming website. What would they be interested in gaming news? But that's not what they want. I want to move away from treating gaming like a product. It is a product. Or an industry. It is an industry. Those are two facts. Instead, I want to examine them as a microcosm for the human condition. That is essentially a sentence that people say when they want to seem really smart and just hope no one understands what they've just said. Games are worlds unto their own, often developing not only customs, but also their own vectors of power and influence. Yes, this is someone that they're not interested in gaming. It's too small for them. They want to do something bigger, with more people, a wider audience. Because their current gaming audience isn't interested in them anymore. It says the future of Kotaku spans beyond video games, that games will always be the driving force, But the things that unite us isn't our willingness to hold a controller. No, it certainly isn't. I use a mouse. It says, to properly showcase video game culture, it's necessary to talk about other things. This is the sentence of the gods. To properly showcase video game culture, it's necessary to talk about things which aren't video games. This is almost, this sentence even beats the one which goes, I want to change everything, but I don't know what it'll look like on the other side. It's like, seriously, to properly showcase what this thing is, we need to talk about stuff which isn't that thing. And you know why? Do you know why? Because they have destroyed all of their game. They have destroyed their gaming reputation. Nobody who's a gamer wants to go to Kotaku. They've lost all of their search traffic. They've got no loyal viewers, and everywhere they go, people know what they're like. They know the kind of stuff they print, and they know that they're hated by Kotaku. They treat them with contempt. Because you started this article by going through everything that you hate, which was fundamental parts of a gaming website. You said that you catered to a very specific audience from a specific background, that they look nothing like you. And yet here you are, leading a video game website. You see these people as beneath you. You're acting like the Lord, observing his peasantry. And the peasantry just give you taxes, and that's all you really want. You don't actually want to mingle with them at all. And as long as you treat your audience with this contempt, you'll never see the truth. That these people are angry and they might have something to say. You'll never consider the one universal problem. That you've thought of every other problem that Kotaku could have, and you've forgotten one thing. That the problem could well be you. The problem could be the people writing. The problem could be you and your opinions. The problem could be that you see gamers as beneath you. And they know this. And as long as this is a problem, it doesn't matter how far and wide you go, because you'll just think the same thing as those as well. Because it turns out that your opinions are just, they're not that common. They're not as popular as you thought they were. And you'll keep meeting people that disagree, and you'll keep seeing beneath them, and they'll keep leaving you when they find out what you think of them. You can't run. It's only a temporary fix at best. And seriously, if this is your long-term business plan as the editor-in-chief of Kotaku, then I'm just not sure how well Kotaku will be doing in the future. Well, that's it from me. If you like the video, press like, subscribe for more content in the future, and let me know what you thought of the video and Kotaku down below. Also, what do you think gaming journalists have done these last few years? Do you think they've done a good job, or do you think that they leave a lot to be desired and should probably actually just stick to games? I'm very interested to know, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.